Okay, so I wanted to record this because the other day I made a video and I mentioned how the aliens had told me several times how Santa Claus was a seeded transmission for the aliens, guys. So they told me this, I don't know, I want to say 6 or 7 months ago. They gave me this download about how the aliens coming down in open contact is like Santa Claus because they're coming down with gifts. That was the first time they told me they're going to bring stuff, is they compared it to Santa Claus. And they're telling me now it was a seeded transmission. Like, they invented Santa Claus. It's from the seventh dimension. They invented Santa Claus and all that, and Christmas. Because they wanted to seed into our subconscious how they're going to be coming out of the sky. That's also why in Revelations they have angels coming down from the sky. So they seeded a lot into our... I know a bunch of people are saying they're coming from the water. That very well could be. Maybe there are some that come from the water. But they're telling me they're coming from the skies, guys. That's where they're telling me they're coming from. Of course, they could come from underwater as well. I'm sure there's fleets and stuff. They do tell me there's extraterrestrial life on this planet. Extraterrestrial. So that's not even interdimensional. It's different. Extraterrestrial is like a completely different species. They are telling me there are different... But again, they're kind of cloaked in different dimensions, or it's like a little... They'll explain it when they get down here because they don't, again, tell me everything. So one thing that they do tell me, though, is like that they are coming out of the skies and they are bringing gifts, which is just the technology that we would have if we weren't corrupted. That's literally all it is. It's like they're literally just catching us up on our evolution that has been manipulated and corrupted and taken away from us on purpose, by God, by design, all that stuff. You know what I always talk about. But also it's sucked asshole. So the other thing that's why they tied Christmas to Jesus and like to that time, to Jesus's birthday. Not just Santa Claus and, you know, the elves and then the reindeer. Rudolph was a seeded transmission for light workers. And Jesus at the same time, because he was like ostracized. Rudolph was ostracized, right? And then his nose had the light on it, and then he was the one that Santa needed to get the gifts to the kids. That's the same thing with the light workers. We were ostracized, made fun of, all the reindeers left us out, all the reindeer games, all that shit, right? And that's why so many of us have felt empathetic for Rudolph. Like, growing up, my favorite thing still in the whole entire world are those claymation 70s things, like the Rankin Bass ones, you know, Santa Claus is coming to town, Rudolph Shiny New Year, you know, all of that stuff. And like one of those, I think it is Rudolph Shiny New Year, is like hella like 70s, like Christ consciousness coded. It's like talking about archipelagos and it's like magical and it's like, there's like in Santa Claus is coming to town, there's a scene where she's got like these like 70, like the girl in it, her name's Jessica, she's got like this 70s theme and it's talking all about love and all this shit. It's insane. Okay, there's so many seeded transmissions which I've talked about. Those are my favorite, the Christmas specials, and they were my favorite for a reason. Like the little drummer boys about Jesus and like following the star and like all this. Okay, so anyway, I just like, I love all that. Like, I'm obsessed with like those, like I watch them every Christmas. I don't feel like it's Christmas unless I watch all those like 70s claymation shit. So, and now I know why I was so obsessed with them, because it was like obviously a mirror to the future, which I just love. So many seeded transmissions. It's just the most beautiful thing in the world, especially for me. Christmas has always been my favorite time of year. I've always been obsessed with it. I always loved going to church at Christmas time. I always loved doing all the Santa Claus stuff. Like, you know, my dad, I don't think he grew up believing in Santa Claus. My mom did. And then, you know, my dad really did not want me or my sister celebrating Halloween or like believing in Santa, but my mom's like, fuck you, no. Like, my kids are going to believe in all this shit. So we believe in like the Tooth Fairy and all this stuff. And my dad, if he had it his way, we wouldn't have, because he's like really religious and stuff. So anyway, it's a seeded transmission for them coming down from the skies, but it is also that they're going to bring gifts. And then it's related to Jesus because it was leading us back to the fact that Christ consciousness is tied to Santa Claus coming down. It is Christ consciousness that is reawakening within everybody. And then it's the light workers, it's the Rudolphs of society that are going to lead people to our gifts, basically. So I just think that is amazing. I think that's incredible to like string that all together, because they gave me pieces of it. They also gave me the movie Elf, because that's like one of my favorite movies ever. I think that movie is literally one of the most hysterical movies on this fucking planet. When it first came out, I was obsessed with it. I thought it was one of the funniest movies I'd ever seen in my life. I'm not gonna lie, guys. I remember watching that for the first time, and it's like one of the only movies where I just like peed laughing. I was like crying because I was younger too. I still think it's hilarious, so I'm not gonna lie. I think that's one of the best movies ever. And now they reference it all the time. They call like people who are like disconnected from God South Pole elves, in that movie, and then like, which is Peter Dinklage, which then he was in Game of Thrones. And then, Will Ferrell, he's hysterical and all that stuff, and how, he had to find his real dad and all this stuff. It's just crazy. And then, but they always give me like how at the end where they have to like sing and get like the sleigh to go, like they tell me that's like how this is actually going to work. Like that's actually how we know we're getting closer to open contact, is like when more and more people start to believe this stuff and it starts to go more mainstream and get into our subconscious and we all start getting excited about it, they told me. Like, that's when we're going to know, like, stuff's going to and I'm already seeing it. I'm seeing it, at least in our community right now, which is actually a huge deal, guys, because last year when I was talking about this stuff, because I've been talking about the aliens coming for a long time, I wasn't getting as much details, so I was talking about it. The hype around it was there, but it wasn't, like, as much as I'm getting this year. Like, it's such a different vibe now. I feel like, because more and more people are detaching from the reality that we exist in, because it's getting worse. So that's what I'm saying. It's like, the worse this gets, the more it actually helps people detach from that reality and actually come over here more. Because it's like, okay, well, this is already fucking delusional. So if this delusional girl is talking about something, it's not that far off, and why would I not choose the one that sounds way better? You know what I'm saying? It's like, why would I give into this shit-ass fucking delusion and that's what it's doing. It's really pushing people. It's not just pushing people to be awakened, but it's pushing awakened people more towards, like, being open to like open contact and like that this reality is maybe not what it seems, and that there might be something more going on and all that stuff. And so I just love it. This is like one of my favorite things ever. I think it's so cool. I just think it's so cool. I love it. I love and like, so that's the thing is like, that's why I'm saying we're not going to get rid of holidays or anything like that. We're just going to like, the perception around it's going to change, but it's still going to be beautiful. We're going to like, I just foresee us like revamping Christmas. Like one of my favorite things to do too, because I'm from Chicago, is go to the Christkindl Market downtown Chicago, and then I'd always go to the Macy's, used to be Marshall Field, windows, and see the windows, and then go to the Walnut Room, which is this really fancy dining room which has a big tree in it, and then it has like a different designer comes in and designs the tree every year, and it's super cool. And like this little fairy comes around and she sprinkles dust on your head, and she's like, what do you want to wish for? And I'd always wish for world peace, 12/21 as I say this. And now that's actually going to be happening. So I'm like, all these seeded transmissions. That's why God, like, he really did make my Christmases very magical. Because, like, my family would take me every year to do that. So it's like, yeah, my family is really abusive and shit. But my parents did also create these, like, beautiful, magical memories for me. And they did, like, I'm starting to realize now, like, as I'm letting go of things, yes, it's really hard to be around their abuse and shit. But a lot of my parents' abuse was programming from the Matrix. A lot of it's fear from the Matrix. And like their own abuse, but I've learned from other people, like that's why I thank you guys so much for sharing your stories, because it makes me have perspective around my family. I'm like, oh well, you went through like a lot of similar things as me, or oh holy shit, you went through something 10 times worse. So then it does make me reflect, and I hope my stories do that for people. It's like I hope my stories are a little bit worse, so you can maybe reflect and be like, okay, maybe I could forgive my parents because it wasn't that bad, right? And that's like something that I have been doing. I'm like, okay, well, it could be worse. My dad could be fucking Donald Trump. Or like, there's another girl on this app, I love her. Her name's Chloe. She's been through an insane amount of shit with her family. Holy fuck. And it's just like, it just puts things into perspective about your own life. Like my life was horrible and is miserable, but it wasn't just my family, I'm realizing. I had a lot of outside stuff too that contributed to my depression and my anxiety. A lot of it was society, and it was friends, and it was like a lot of other stuff too. So again, it helps me kind of forgive. And so, I'm really grateful that I did have like magical Christmases, but this is why, because like, it was the one thing God gave me in my life was Christmas time, so that's why I clung on to it so much too, because it's like the one time in my life during the year where no matter what was going on, like I felt okay. Like I wasn't pissed off, like it was okay for like 2 months. And then, everything went to shit again. For the most part, I had a couple Christmases where I was addicted to D-Rugs and I was zanned out and I wasn't even there, but mostly it was beautiful. And now I realize why, because they were going to tell me about this and that, it solidify even more into my brain and stuff because of my own experiences with Christmas and how much I loved it and stuff. How, this feels very legitimate and true. So I love this one. Love it. Beautiful. So I can't wait for that. That's going to be exciting. we're all the elves. We're all the elves too. We're all the, Rudolphs. And then we also have other elves coming down to help us. So it's gonna be great, guys. It really is. I have a lot of hope for the future. I think there's a lot of good proof, a lot of good solid stuff. So every day I feel like, I'm more inclined to believe this stuff and I get more details about it. So it's exciting.